everybody getting a little happy. Woo! Woo! All right. Welcome to Gab and Jam, episode 134. Today's topic piggybacks on something that we discussed in Gab and Jam episode 57. We'll have a link for that in the description if you want to check that out. But the topic today is my music is dated.
So what?
So what?
Right. So what?
What are you talking about? Because last time with retro, we were just trying to discuss what it meant to be retro. So this time, what are we talking about?
All right. So I was listening to Volume FM, and they were doing their new music Friday show.
Okay, so Larry Flick.
Yeah, Larry Flick, and he was on there, and Evanescence came out with a new song.
Okay.
And it sounded a lot like older Evanescence.
Oh, older. Okay.
Right?
So what
I mean? Right. They're kind of what you know. And so, it was the type of song, if you like that sound from Evanescence, and you heard this new one, you would say, oh yeah, okay, I can relate to that.
More my favorite.
Right. More that type of thing, right?
I like. Right.
And then the question kind of came up as to, so what lane does that fit in?
Right.
Like today, there really isn't true rock and roll that's out there anymore.
And even, quote unquote, the alternative sound is not really happening so much.
Yeah, and Larry Flick kind of said, well, because it doesn't have a lane, it's really because of the fact that it's dated.
Okay.
And so that's why it's sort of like, so where do dinosaurs fit in right now? Well, they don't, because they're extinct. You know what I mean? And so that was all. That's the way I took it. Now, I'm not saying that that's the way Larry Flick meant it.
But but the connotation of the word is like retro is the cool way to say it. It seems.
Right.
And dated is more of a
derogatory.
You don't necessarily deserve our attention because
it's passe, it's dated, it comes from a different era. And so, and you start kind of thinking about, it's almost like certain people have approval to do songs that are quote unquote dated. And I'm not just restricting that to this particular time period.
Okay.
I think we can go back to let's just say we had Frankie Valli. Let's say Frankie Valli.
Yeah.
Frankie Valli comes out with a song, sounds like it comes from the 50s, right? And let's say it was circa 1980 that he came out with this song, right? I just got a feeling people may say to him, if he walks into a record company, it's kind of dated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Come on, Frankie, you gotta let that go. See, the youngins, they need to do songs, right? Right. So, now, same record company as that, or maybe a different record company as that, I don't know. Here's the Stray Cats. They come in and they're doing these very retro 50s sounding songs. I mean, they sound like, hey, they come right out of Happy Days. And so, and it's like, this is happening. It's got that retro feel to it. You know what I mean? That throwback feel when the kids
people are ready for it.
But, they were younger. So it's sort of like, okay, they get to do this, right? It's like we were talking before, Michael Bublé, he does it, it's great, maybe some other guy does it, it's not so great.
Right.
Or it's not so great if we're not in a time period in which we want to, allow them to do it.
Or if we were talking about the fact that it would be a tragedy for Stevie Wonder to come out doing trap music if that's not what he's feeling. And get a whole bunch of a
whole bunch of people on there, so he can do the Drake melody, and then he's got to throw auto-tune on his voice, and all this other kind of stuff,
just so that he can be with it.
Do a quote-unquote hit record, or either sometimes you have to do if you're Tony Bennett, maybe you have to hook up with a Lady Gaga, in order to kind of give your music more of a retro feel as opposed to a dated feel, And so the issue to me, it just seems like it's more of a political type thing, meaning that it's more of a thing of separating, I guess, young from old. When you say that something's quote unquote dated, because again, dated always seems like you're just out of fact. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It's like when I hear when I hear dated, the picture that plays in my mind is "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker."
Oh yeah.
Huggy Bear, he's Antonio Vargas, he's playing this role in there, and he's this pimp. He was the man, right? And so he's been in jail all this period of time. He's reminiscing about when he won the Pimp of the Year contest and all that kind of stuff. So he's been in jail all this time, and now he finally gets out, right? But he's got his same pimp gear that he had on circa 1976 when he was originally arrested. And And so he comes out, he's got the high heels on, they got the goldfish in
his
it,
shoes.
all the rest of
He's got the big wide brim hat.
Yeah, and he's pimping.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because he knows he's sharp, right? But he starts to realize that people are laughing at him, that they're not grooving with him, right? And then he runs away, he breaks his high heel shoes and the poor little goldfish on the concrete.
Right?
So every time I hear dated, that's the message that I think that they're trying to send to people. Is that, you're that guy. You're the guy that's wearing a Jerry curl in 2020.
Ask your parents if you don't know what a Jerry curl is.
Right. That's what I keep hearing when I think of dated. Right.
You can't even go to a beauty salon and ask for a Jerry curl anymore. They don't even do that anymore.
Right. So I mean, however, they still sell the curl juice.
Yeah, they do.
Right. So you can't.
And I used to buy it on the DL.
So you can't get the curl juice. Yeah. But still, it's like that's what I keep thinking about when I think about dated. Whereas for me, it's sort of like, I almost look at music as being something that, just because it's something that happened before doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, and sounds that happened before aren't necessarily bad.
And that they can't have any cultural capital right here
and right now. Exactly. That I do still think that. I mean, because don't get me wrong, there were corny songs in the 80s, and I'm saying if you kind of went back and did one of those songs exactly, it's still it was corny then and it's corny today. There were corny sounds in the 80s. And to be honest with you, there are corny sounds now and there are corny songs today.
Right.
And so, the reason why I can say, to myself is that I listen to bass lines that, I've heard, like we did on a previous episode. From that period of time, and I hear those things and they still sound great to me.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of other people, I guess what your bigger point is, I think, is that there is still a spot there are still people who want to hear.
Right. And even if there isn't, is that it's almost like, like if we replay that same scene. Right, that I was just talking about, with the pimp getting out and all the rest of this kind of stuff. If he kept his strut, in spite of what people say, because I look at the outfit that he kind of had on, and I say, Lenny Kravitz,
you see
Prince,
you see
Andre 3000, you know what I mean, and so you can see Tyler the Creator, you know what I mean, you start seeing these people who take that same stuff, but they wear it confidently.
Oh, Harry Styles, his new stuff is very retro.
Right.
Sansa belt pants that come all the way up to here, and
whoever it might be, it's sort of like, so again, it's about your attitude towards whatever you're doing. I mean, whether or not people are going to say it's dated. I mean, dated to me should just mean, what date did you do it? You know what I mean? That's it. Yeah, everything's dated.
Right.
And so what?
Yeah, and it is like that with clothes, though. I remember people were talking about that in the 90s about, the polyester, and this one woman coworker that I had was talking about, she's so outdated because she's got the polyester, whatever. And I'm looking at the person that was talking, those fashions were slowly creeping their way back, and she's like, like this outfit doesn't count because this is the cool stuff. But how can you, again, it's still retro. It's just now they have repackaged it and sold it as this is the new thing.
Right. Everything is, again, we're talking about, when you talk about music, you're talking about like 13 odd notes. Various polyrhythms. We don't use all the scales out there that we can use.
Right.
Half the damn time we're not using diminished chords and all the rest of the time.
And we should be. We like diminished chords.
Right. I'm just saying we don't use most of the lexicon that's out there. Right. So, just newsflash. It's all been done before.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, that's just, you're constantly repackaging stuff and everything else. So, it would keep coming back to that same thing. Is that, somebody tells you that your stuff is dated, you say, yes, it's dated the day I made it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's
because we gotten conflicted things too, because for some placements for music licensing, they will ask for something that was recorded authentically in the 80s or the 90s.
Right.
and we'll submit something, and sometimes they'll say, oh, we can tell it wasn't recorded then, or vice versa, something where they say contemporary, but then they'll, more like but it has to be funky or pop or whatever, but then we'll send something that's like, oh, but it doesn't have, whatever the latest and greatest. It's like, again, their interpretation of what is contemporary, what is retro, what is dated, and what is not seems pretty arbitrary.
It is. It's hard to say. I mean, especially like when you're talking about EDM music or whatever else, it's like, you can have, I hear EDM songs today that sound like they could have been made, in the 90s. Yeah. Easily in the 90s. Right. So I don't know if those songs are quote unquote dated, or because they're coming from people who you're supposed to accept this music from. Right. It's retro. Well, that's the way it is now, because disco is basically coming back. But disco's never left. Right. It never left. Especially, it's like, they're just going back to the entire. You got the outfit, you got the hair, and now you got the music. But you think about it. I mean, Duran Duran, disco. It's been around forever. I mean, during the 90s, disco was just here and always there. Groove is in the Heart. That was a disco song. I mean, all of these songs that you keep kidding yourself to say that it wasn't. It had to evolve, because you had that whole thing that happened in the 70s. The disco sucks. And they burned blowing up the records and stuff like that. Some Chicago DJ and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So disco had to come back and resurface as something else. I mean, but after that period of time, One Nation Under a Groove, Not Just Knee Deep, all these songs came out after that whole thing happened. Movement, I mean, and why did they come out? Because that music was still just good music. Right. You can't hold back good music. Rapper's Delight uses a disco song. Right. Good Times. Yeah. And I don't blame Nile Rodgers for even saying. I don't even know if you could say it's a quote unquote disco song. I mean, it was just a good R&B kind of funky song, and that's what Chic did. I don't think I ever thought about them as like just a disco band. Yeah, never thought about them as that way. I mean, because it didn't seem like to me. It's like certain people jumped on the disco bandwagon, including the Rolling Stones. Miss you. Yeah. But I didn't see Chic that way. Right. Chic was a band that came up during that era that got a disco tag because they were a black band and you just had to give them that. And then they done danceable songs. Right. So that automatically is what you do. Go back to our getting rid of urban category episode for more about that. But yeah. I mean, but to kind of circle back to where we were, it's sort of like, I don't think you can really hone in on if people are saying that your music's dated or whatever they're saying. As much you got to make the music that you love, because you at the end of the day, whether it's Evanescence doing rock, whether it's people doing funk, whether it's people doing R&B, whatever that they might be doing, you got to do the music that makes you feel good, and more than likely, if you're doing the music that makes you feel good and it feels, you're going to touch somebody else. Yeah. I'm not saying you're going to touch the masses. Right. But I'm just saying you're going to touch somebody else. You say you got to walk with that strut with your goldfish and your shoe. And you do. You got to strut with it. You got to say this is what we intend to do. Right. It's dated, whatever. But this is the music I want to hear. Yeah. I'm making the music I want to hear. Right. And so I really don't care what type of label. And if you want to say dated, what's the date? You know what I mean? Give me that date. That will go on the marketing materials that we're putting out. Okay. You like the music circa such and such. It sounds funky, blah, blah, blah. That goes right there. Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. For helping me figure out how to describe it for the marketing campaign. I mean, so, people give you lemons, you make lemonade. That's right. And that's the way you always got to do it. All right. We love it. What do you think? What is wrong with making music that is quote unquote dated, as long as it's a statement you plan to make? Right. We'd love to hear what you have to say about this topic. Leave it in the comments below. What else? We got the funk album coming. We did some video shooting this past weekend, and we're really excited about this whole project. As soon as we have more details, we will be sure to let you know. If you dig the vibe, be sure to subscribe. We're wishing you love, peace, and chicken.